Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments where you're listening from tonight. We'd love to know how far our stories reach. Now take a deep breath, close your eyes, and let the story carry you to the edge of the known world where love was waiting. You don't ask too many questions when the agency calls, just that it pays well, that it's only temporary, and that it starts tomorrow. 2 weeks. You can do anything for 2 weeks. It's been a strange few months, or perhaps longer than that, if you're honest with yourself. Everything seems to have blurred together ever since your last job ended. You lost that one not because of anything you did, but because the company folded overnight. No warnings. No letters of recommendation, just empty desks and stiff goodbyes. So, when the agency says it's a private residence upscale, a little unusual, you say yes. When they add, the last few hires didn't last long, you still say yes. You've always been good at staying quiet, doing what needs to be done, keeping your head down. If it's a difficult client, so be it. You're not here to make friends. The car picks you up just after sunrise. The driver doesn't talk much, and the city rolls past your window in a blur of silver and blue. Even though it's early, the air already smells faintly of summer heat, warm concrete, early bread deliveries, wet leaves from last night's storm. When the car finally stops, you're in front of the building you've only ever seen on the news. Murray 1 Tower, the tallest residential building in the district, sleek, all glass and steel, with no signage, no retail shops, no welcoming awning. Just a private lobby behind dark tinted glass and a security desk that requires a fingerprint just to enter the elevator. You're checked in wordlessly, and a sleek metal elevator rises so quickly your ears pop. Floor 51, the top. The hallway is pristine and silent. Your footsteps make no sound on the pale floors. There's only one door. You knock. Nothing. You wait. Then you knock again, softer this time. Still, nothing. You're about to turn away when the door opens with a quiet, almost reluctant hiss, as if the person behind it had been watching the whole time, deciding whether or not to let you in. The man who stands there is taller than you expected, dressed in a simple gray shirt, sleeves rolled up, no tie, no smile, dark eyes that seem to study you without blinking. He looks younger than you thought he'd be, not much older than you, but something about him feels older, worn. "Housekeeper?" he asks. His voice is low, uninflected, not quite cold, but close. You nod. "From the agency." He glances at a phone in his hand, swipes something, then steps aside. "It's temporary? 2 weeks. Fine." You step inside. The door shuts behind you with the same quiet sigh. The penthouse is enormous, all open space, cool marble floors, pale walls, everything gleams. It's so clean already you wonder what exactly you're meant to do. The furniture is sparse but expensive leather, glass, stone. The windows stretch floor to ceiling, with a view that makes your knees wobble. All of Seoul stretches below in soft morning haze. He walks ahead of you without looking back. "This is the kitchen," he says. "Fridge is full. Don't touch the freezer." You nod. "Bedroom is down the hall. Don't go in there unless I say." "Of course." He pauses, then adds, "You'll clean the guest room. Not that anyone uses it. The office, the living room, replace linens, water the plants. That's it." You glance around. There are plants? He gestures vaguely toward the balcony, where 2 small pots sit in the far corner, barely visible. "Right. I don't need small talk," he says without emotion. "Don't wait for me to come home. Just do what you came for, and no press. If anyone asks where you're working, lie." You blink. "Okay." Something flickers across his face, then not quite amusement, but something close to surprise, as if most people ask questions, or leave by now. You stand there, waiting to be dismissed, but he just says, "You can start tomorrow. Leave the front door unlocked when you go." And with that, he turns and disappears down the hallway. You're left standing in a room full of glass and silence, wondering what kind of man lives in a place like this, all sharp edges and invisible lines. You breathe in. The air smells faintly of cedar and something metallic, like the underside of a watch. Or maybe it's the quiet itself that smells like that. When you leave, the front door clicks shut behind you on its own. You arrive at 7:30 the next morning. The key code already works. He hasn't changed it. The apartment is empty. There's a pair of shoes by the door, black, polished, aligned perfectly. The kitchen is spotless. The dishwasher has never been run. A single mug sits upside down on the drying rack. You set your bag down quietly and begin to work. There isn't much to clean, not really. You wipe down surfaces that already shine. You dust windowsills that are already clear. The trash cans are empty. The laundry bin is unused. The guest room has been untouched for weeks. You water the plants. They don't need it. You replace the linens anyway. In the living room, there's a grand piano no one seems to play. A single photo frame on the console table, face down. You don't touch it. He doesn't come home before you leave. You lock the door behind you out of habit, even though he said to leave it open. This pattern repeats. Day 2, Day 3, Day 4. He is never home when you arrive. The space is always eerily clean. You start to wonder if he lives here at all, or if this is just a shell, a glass box to retreat to, a life stage for the outside world. But on the 5th morning, something is different. There's a note on the kitchen counter. It's written in black ink, small, neat handwriting. "Thank you for replacing the soap. The lavender one is fine." It's unsigned. You smile without meaning to. The next day, you find a second note. You don't have to replace the towels daily. Once every 3 days is fine. Still unsigned. You begin writing your own responses in your head, but you never leave them. On day 7, you arrive to find a cup of coffee on the counter, still warm, with a lid. No note this time, but the message is clear. You're not invisible anymore. And somehow that feels more dangerous than anything else. You begin arriving earlier. Just a little, 10 minutes at first, then 15. You tell yourself it's just to beat traffic, to give yourself time to breathe before stepping into the quiet penthouse. But maybe you're curious. Maybe you want to see if the man behind the notes, the one who never says much but leaves you lavender soap and coffee, actually lives here like a real person. You never do catch him. By the time you arrive, he's already gone. His schedule is like clockwork. The black car picks him up sometime between 5:30 and 6. The building staff say nothing, but you imagine they know. They always press the elevator button before he's reached the lobby, as if by instinct, as if they've been trained. You wonder what it's like to live that precisely, to never have a morning to yourself, to never sleep in, to be known by headlines but never touched by them. In person, he's even less present, a blur in your memory, a tall shadow with quiet footsteps. You try to remember the color of his eyes, but it never stays. All you remember is the way his voice sounds just before he leaves the room, flat, unreadable, like it was never meant to echo. Still, he notices things. After you run the laundry on Thursday, you find a note Friday morning. Use cold water for the black shirts. On Monday, you rearrange the pantry because someone at the agency taught you to alphabetize dry goods. Tuesday, you find it exactly as you left it except for a single sticky note on the rice. "Don't change this shelf. I know where everything is." It's strangely human, annoyed but polite, like he's not used to being contradicted, but doesn't quite know how to argue. You think about leaving him a note back, just once. But what would you even say? It's on your 8th day that you see him again. Not at the door, not in the kitchen. But just as you're leaving around 9:30, you turn down the hallway toward the elevator and find him standing at the edge of the living room, looking out through the floor-to-ceiling glass. He doesn't turn around. You stop short. You can't tell if he's noticed you. He's wearing a white shirt this time, sleeves cuffed at the wrist. There's no phone in his hand, no tablet. Just him, standing there, completely still. The city laid out below him like a painting he's forgotten how to interpret. You clear your throat softly. I'm just leaving. He doesn't move. You start to back away. Then he says, "Did you rearrange the books?" His voice is quiet, but not as flat this time. Not emotionless, just low, like he's been thinking about something for a while. You pause. "Only the ones on the side table I was dusting." He nods once. Still facing the window. "I thought so." You wait, expecting that to be the end of it. But then he says, "There used to be someone else." It's not really directed at you, more like a statement to the glass, to the skyline, to the memory of whoever he means. You nod slowly, not sure if you're meant to answer. He turns then, eyes meeting yours for the first time since you started. There's a kind of tiredness in his gaze, not exhaustion, but something deeper, something older than it should be for someone his age. "You don't talk much," he says. You blink. Neither do you. For a second, something flashes across his face. The smallest twitch of a smile, or maybe it's just your imagination. You're not even sure he heard himself. He nods again, almost imperceptibly. "I prefer it that way." You give a small smile. "Then we're a good match." He doesn't smile back, but his eyes soften, just a little. That's enough. As you step into the elevator, he says one more thing. "Thanks for not touching the freezer." You learn a few things about him in the days that follow. Not from him, never from him, but from the spaces he occupies. He likes things in even numbers. 2 glasses on the shelf, 2 bath towels, both white, 2 chairs on the balcony, though one is always covered. There's an untouched bedroom down the hall, locked. You've never been in it. The agency told you not to ask. You don't. There's a drawer in the kitchen labeled lemon. Nothing inside it is lemon related. You ask no questions. He reads late at night. Sometimes you find a book left open, pages gently curled by morning light. He uses pressed petals as bookmarks. They're always blue. He listens to the same 3 classical playlists, always on low volume. You think it's more for the plants than for himself. And he never, ever leaves before cleaning his own coffee cup. You check, every day. You don't know why that makes you feel something. On your 10th day, you bring a pair of fresh flowers and place them near the window. You don't ask for permission. They're soft yellow ranunculus, cheerful but subtle. You arrange them carefully. The vase had been empty since you arrived. When you return the next morning, the vase is still there, but beside it, a handwritten note. Not bad. 2 words, underlined. You grin quietly into your tea. You've made it 10 days. 4 more to go. That night, you sit by your own window, facing the tower. His is the only unit with the lights still on, high above the city, pale and distant, like a lone lantern refusing to go out. You wonder what he's doing. Reading? Working? Sleeping? No, not sleeping. He never seems to. You watch the light until it dims. Then you sleep easier than you have in weeks. Somewhere between days 11 and 12, the apartment starts to feel less like a stranger's and more like a quiet secret. You still don't know his first name. The agency paperwork calls him Mr. Kang, though you've never used the name aloud, and he's never invited you to. You call him nothing, and he says your name only once on the 13th day, when you knock slightly louder than usual. The door opens, and he says it with a curious tilt in his voice, as if testing how it fits. Soft, unrushed, like a thread being pulled slowly through fabric. He says it once, and then never again. You don't need him to repeat it, it stays with you. Your days begin earlier now. There's no schedule, not really, but a quiet understanding, a rhythm that's settled between you. You clean, you water the invisible plants, you place his coffee cup exactly where you found it the day before. Sometimes you leave small things where he'll find them. A folded cloth napkin in the kitchen drawer, a packet of chamomile tea near the kettle, a small ceramic cat from a street market that you're sure he'll throw away, but he doesn't. You try not to wonder why, but you do. You're wondering more lately. You've never seen him sleep. Not once. You've never even seen the lights off in his bedroom, not fully. The door is often closed. When it's open, there's a glow, always a glow. A reading lamp, a laptop screen. The city outside filtering through sheer curtains. And yet the man never yawns, never looks tired, never slouches. He is a man made of mornings, precise, composed, gone before you arrive. But the signs are there. Books left open with highlighters between pages. A single plate with toast crumbs. A drawer opened a centimeter, never more, as if he's reached for something and then forgotten. You find receipts from late-night grocery deliveries. Not much eggs, soy milk, red ginseng, but always after midnight, time-stamped at hours when the world is still. He is always doing something, reading, writing, avoiding. You don't know which. On day 14, you arrive to find him still home. He's sitting at the long marble kitchen counter, sleeves rolled up, tie discarded, hair slightly rumpled, and he looks surprised to see you. I thought you came later than this. You lift an eyebrow. You've never been here to know. He almost smiles. Almost. Instead, he gestures to the pot of water he's just boiled. There's tea if you want. It feels like an invitation, but also a test. You pour yourself a cup. You sit across from him. He doesn't ask you anything, doesn't try to make conversation. You don't either. The tea tastes faintly of roasted rice, warm and familiar, like winter mornings from a long time ago. Neither of you says a word, but something changes. Not in a dramatic way, not with music or declarations. Just the quiet comfort of two people being in the same space, no need to perform. He watches the window. You watch him. He catches your gaze once and doesn't look away. Not immediately. After that, things shift again subtly. He leaves his office door cracked now, just a little, as if to say, you're welcome to knock, or not. He leaves books on the table, spines facing out, with small paper markers between chapters. You never touch them, but sometimes you read the titles. Essays on architecture, writings by poets you've never heard of. A collection of letters that seem too personal to be on a public shelf. One morning you arrive to find a tray set on the counter, 2 teacups, 1 pot, and a small note. If you're staying 15 minutes longer, you might as well sit. You do. That's how the ritual begins. Every morning you find the tray. You pour the tea. You sit in the chair opposite his, even though he's already gone. And somehow, that space, that shared stillness, becomes the most honest part of your day. On day 15, you arrive before sunrise. Not intentionally, you simply couldn't sleep. Your apartment felt too quiet, the night too long. So you arrive at 5:45 a.m. just to feel grounded. The penthouse is dark. The keypad accepts your code. You step inside, and you see him. He's sitting on the edge of the balcony, barefoot, wrapped in a charcoal gray cardigan over his shirt. One hand holds a mug, the other rests on the iron railing. His hair is slightly messy. He doesn't hear you at first. You almost step back embarrassed. It feels too intimate, like walking in on something sacred. But he turns then and sees you. You wait for him to retreat, to stiffen, but he doesn't. Instead, he nods toward the second chair on the balcony. You take it. The silence is easy. The city below is beginning to wake. Just barely streetlights flicker against dawn clouds. Birds stretch their wings from rooftop nests, and the neon signs from late-night diners finally fade. It's always this quiet, he says, right before everything starts moving. You glance at him. You see it often? He doesn't answer right away. Then, I don't sleep much. You want to ask why, but you don't. He sips his drink. I used to, before. Before what? Another long silence. Then he shakes his head gently, as if changing his mind. Before is a long story. You look out at the city. Maybe I'm good at listening. He turns toward you, not fully, but enough. Just enough. His voice, when it comes, is soft. We'll see. You leave that morning at the usual time, but your thoughts stay in that balcony chair, with the quiet between you, and the sunrise he let you see. You don't mean to fall asleep. You tell yourself that every time you replay it in your head later, when the embarrassment sets in, when you remember how it must have looked, how you probably drooled a little, how one of your socks was slipping halfway off. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. You were just tired. The kind of tired that slips in beneath your skin, not heavy, not obvious, just persistent, lingering from the night before, and maybe the week before that, and the weeks before that, when you were trying so hard to look fine, to move on, to hold yourself together without making too much noise about it. The couch had been clean, the sun had been warm through the windows, the piano had been silent, and you had just closed your eyes for a second, maybe two, but that's not what happened. What happened is this. You're halfway through your usual routine. The floors have been mopped, the fridge wiped, the teacups washed and placed back exactly as you found them. There's nothing left to do, nothing urgent, at least. So you sit, just for a minute, on the far edge of the leather sofa, the one spot where the cushions don't sink too deeply. You let yourself lean back, let your head rest lightly against the pillow someone once arranged just so. You watch the city through the wide pane of glass. It's foggy today, the kind of fog that makes the skyline feel like a memory instead of a place. You can barely make out the Han River. The buildings are soft silhouettes, like pencil drawings left unfinished. And slowly, your breath slows too. You tell yourself you'll sit for just 5 minutes, maybe 7. The next thing you know, the light is different, softer, lower, and you're not alone. You wake with a start, unsure of what time it is. Your heart jumps into your throat. The apartment is quiet, but not empty. There's something else, a faint warmth over your shoulders. You blink down and realize there's a blanket draped across you, lightweight, soft, probably cashmere, pale gray, and it wasn't there when you sat down. You sit up too quickly, the blanket sliding off. Your hair's a mess, your shirt is creased, there's a line on your cheek from the fabric of the cushion. You glance around, half expecting him to be standing there, watching, but he's not. You find him a moment later, in the kitchen, standing with his back to you, sleeves rolled up, preparing tea. He doesn't turn when you step in. I didn't mean to fall asleep, you say quietly. I know. You wait for a reprimand, for him to mention professionalism, for him to ask you not to do it again. Instead, he pours 2 cups and places one near the edge of the counter. Then he gestures gently without looking at you. Sit. So you do. The tea smells like roasted barley. He doesn't ask why you were tired. You don't offer it. The silence is not awkward. It's understanding. You sip slowly, willing the warmth to hide the flush in your cheeks. He finally looks up, watching you over the rim of his own cup. You were having a dream. Your fingers tighten around the mug. Was I? You said something. You pause. What did I say? He shakes his head. I didn't catch it. And somehow, that feels like kindness. After that day, he starts lingering. Not long, just a few minutes more than usual, enough to comment on the weather, or the tea, or the fact that someone has adjusted the volume on the piano speaker. You never catch him doing it. You never see him sit there or play, or even listen to music. But you notice the playlist changes. One morning it's Chopin, the next, it's a soft jazz piece you recognize but can't name. You wonder if he's tailoring it to you, if he's noticed how your hands pause on the countertop when the music shifts. Or maybe it's just coincidence. On day 17, you find a wrapped pastry on the counter when you arrive. Still warm, a small note tucked underneath. Try this one, less sweet. No signature, no explanation, no apology for the last one, which had been too sweet and which you'd only quietly mentioned in passing, a throwaway comment the morning after you fell asleep. You eat it standing by the window, the sunlight pooling at your feet. You think, maybe he's not cold, just slow to warm. Like you. That night you walk home slower than usual. It's not far, just a handful of blocks through quieter streets, but the air has turned cool. The sky is smeared with the last traces of dusk. You pass the convenience store with the old cat out front, the laundromat that always leaves the door propped open, the rooftop garden that someone tends in silence. And you think about how this part of the city is starting to feel known, familiar, soft around the edges. You wonder if he feels the same about you, like you've settled into a rhythm he didn't ask for but maybe needed. You wonder what he thinks when he sees your coffee cup beside his. If he waits to pick it up until the tea has gone cold. If he ever hopes you'll fall asleep again just so he has a reason to cover you. You dream of him that night. Not vividly, not with detail. Just the shape of him standing in the kitchen, sleeves rolled, eyes soft, a small piece of toast in his hand. And the blanket, the one you keep folded now beside the couch, just in case. It starts raining just before noon. Not the light, misty drizzle that often lingers over Seoul this time of year. No, this rain comes all at once, as if the sky has been holding its breath too long and can't bear it anymore. A sudden heavy downpour that turns the city into a gray blur. You're on your lunch break when it hits. The cafe you duck into is warm but small, and all the seats by the window are already taken. The streets are a tangle of umbrellas and rushing people. Your phone lights up with a flood alert. You scroll half-heartedly through headlines, weather updates, the agency's notice about exercise caution during regional flooding, and then pause over a text from a number you haven't saved. Do you need a ride? You stare at the message for a moment, blinking. You didn't think he had your number. You never gave it to him. But then again, you'd left it with the agency, and he would have access, technically. Still, you hadn't expected this. Not from him. You type, delete, then type again. I'm fine, thank you. You hover over the send button for a second, then hit send. Outside, the rain picks up speed. The drains are starting to back up. Pedestrians are soaked. Umbrellas flipped inside out. Someone steps too quickly and splashes a couple near the curb. Your tea goes cold. 10 minutes pass. Then your phone buzzes again. Are you still at the cafe with the green awning? You look up, startled, and there he is. Across the street, standing next to a sleek black car, an umbrella held above him. His hair is slightly damp at the edges, his shirt collar turned up against the rain. He's looking straight at you. You don't wave. You don't smile. You just move. The inside of the car smells like eucalyptus and rain. The windows fog gently at the edges. The leather seats are warm. He doesn't speak as you settle in, just glances at you once brief but searching before pulling away from the curb with a quiet ease. Thank you, you say softly. He nods. The wipers slide across the glass in steady rhythm. Outside, The city is blurred into smudges of silver and green, neon signs bleeding into one another. I didn't expect you, you admit after a while. I know. You hesitate. How did you know where I was? His hands remain steady on the wheel. You like that place. You go on your break when it's quiet. You've been watching? He exhales slowly. Not watching. Noticing. You let that sit in the air between you. It's not the same thing, but it's not entirely different either. Back at the penthouse, he unlocks the door for you. He doesn't say anything when you step inside, dripping slightly at the edges despite the umbrella. He just gestures to the guest bathroom. There's a towel on the counter. You nod. Thank you. When you emerge, your hair still damp, he's in the kitchen boiling water. Again. The kettle sings softly. You sit on one of the bar stools without being asked. You're not working today, you ask. I postponed some things. That's rare. He glances at you, lips twitching into something close to a smile. You're more curious than you used to be. You meet his eyes, and you're more talkative. He shrugs, pouring tea. Maybe the rain changes people. You drink together, the silence companionable now. The rain drums steadily against the windows. It makes the penthouse feel smaller somehow, closer. There's a kind of intimacy in being stuck inside. Everything else slows down. Even the ticking clock on the bookshelf seems to lose urgency. You were right, he says quietly later. You look up. About what? The flower arrangement you brought last week. It lasted longer than mine. You blink, surprised. You remembered that? He nods once, sipping his tea. I noticed things, I told you. You smile. Yes, you did. The lights in the apartment are low now, dimmed against the gray outside. The whole space glows in soft golden tones. You watch him as he runs a hand through his hair, distracted. You look tired, you say before you can stop yourself. He doesn't deny it, just tilts his head slightly. I've been sleeping more. That's good. I think it's your fault. You raise an eyebrow. How? He looks at you, then really looks. Not in passing, not distracted, with a quiet kind of intention, because the place feels different now. You don't know what to say to that. You're not even sure if he meant to say it aloud. So you just lower your gaze, wrapping your hands around your mug. The heat steadies you. The rain doesn't stop, but neither of you seems to mind. Later, you move to the living room. The blanket is already folded on the edge of the couch. You sit together, not close, but not far. The playlist changes to something slower, barely audible beneath the patter of rain. I don't usually have anyone here, he says, almost absently. I guessed. I'm not great at letting people in. You nod slowly. It's okay, you say. You didn't have to. I let myself in. A pause. Then he says, I noticed that too. You leave late that afternoon. Walking home beneath an umbrella he presses into your hands. It's not mine, you say. He looks down at you. It is now. You hesitate. Then nod. You don't look back. But when you get home, you find a note folded in your coat pocket, written in the same neat script as always. In case you want to come back tomorrow, no need to clean. And beneath it, just bring more of that tea. You return the next day. Not because you're on the schedule, not because the agency told you to. You return because of the note, because of the tea request, because of the way he had handed you the umbrella, not casually, not awkwardly, but like someone trying to say, please come back without actually saying it. You return because you want to, and you don't pretend otherwise. You bring the tea loose leaf, wrapped in soft brown paper from your favorite shop. The woman at the counter had smiled when you explained the flavor you were looking for. Something calming, you'd said. Comforting? You nodded, but not too sweet. Now the package rests in your coat pocket as you press the code to the penthouse. The door opens as soon as you step inside. He's already there. In the kitchen again, sleeves rolled, tie discarded, reading glasses perched on his nose. You almost laugh. Do you ever leave this apartment anymore? He doesn't look up right away. Then he glances over, pushes the glasses up his nose and says, "Only when I have to." You raise an eyebrow. "And today you didn't have to?" "No," he says plainly. "Today I wanted to stay in." Your stomach does a small, quiet turn. The air between you is different now. Not uncomfortable, not at all, but less defined, looser around the edges. You don't need instructions anymore. You set down your things without asking. You fill the kettle without being told where it is. You pour 2 cups without waiting for him to offer. He watches you the whole time. You pretend not to notice. He drinks the tea slowly, thoughtfully. "This is good. Told you. It tastes like something." You smile. "Like home?" He doesn't answer, but he pours himself a second cup, and that's answer enough. The apartment is quieter than usual. No music, no emails pinging, no distant phone calls. Just the soft hush of rain continuing outside, not as intense as the day before, but still steady. A rhythm now, a mood. You sit across from him at the counter, both of you cradling warm mugs, neither of you in a hurry. And then so gently you almost miss it, he says, "My mother used to grow dahlias." You blink, look up. He isn't looking at you. He's looking at the far window, eyes unfocused, voice low. She liked the red ones best, the deep, dark red, almost black in certain light. You stay quiet, you don't interrupt. She used to say they looked dramatic, like they were trying to be serious, not like daisies. Daisies were too cheerful. She didn't trust cheerful flowers. You smile a little. "And what about you?" you ask. "I liked watching her grow them. That was enough." He pauses, then adds, "She never cut them, not even when they bloomed perfectly, just let them die on the stem. She said they had a right to finish." There's a long silence after that, not heavy, just full. You sip your tea. He sips his. You want to ask what happened to her, but something in his expression tells you, not tonight. So instead you say, "Dahlias are hard to grow. They don't always take to the soil." "I know," he says. Then quieter, "She tried anyway." After tea, you help him fold the blanket on the couch. It's a simple thing, done together, without speaking. He adjusts the edges after you do, not because you did it wrong, but because he's always like that, tidy, particular, deliberate. You admire that about him now. What had once seemed cold, rigid, you see it differently. He doesn't try to control everything. He just tries to hold things in place, like someone who's lost too much to let things fall easily anymore. You end up on the balcony again. This time, he brings out a small electric heater and sets it between the chairs. "I'm not trying to impress you," he says deadpan when you smile. "I didn't say you were." You're smiling. "Maybe I'm just enjoying myself." He glances sideways at you, as if that hadn't occurred to him that someone could enjoy this. The silence, the simplicity. "You don't talk about yourself much," he says eventually. "Neither do you." He nods. "That's fair." Another long stretch of quiet passes. The rain drifts softer now, a mist over the city lights. The world looks gentle from here, uncomplicated. "I used to dance," you say suddenly. He turns his head toward you. "Not professionally, not for anyone else, just for myself, until I couldn't anymore." "What happened?" "I stopped feeling light enough." He doesn't laugh. He doesn't brush it off. He just sits with it. Then, that's a better answer than most people give. You watch the clouds gather and shift. "I don't know why I said that," you add. "It's been a long time. Maybe you wanted someone to know." You look at him again, really look this time. The sharp lines of his jaw, softened by the dim light, the quiet thoughtfulness behind his eyes. And for the first time you realize, he listens the same way he watches, with intention, with silence that isn't empty. You turn back to the sky. I used to think I'd open a studio one day, teach, maybe choreograph, something quiet. And now, you shrug. Now I keep things clean. He doesn't say anything, but after a long pause, you feel the smallest shift, a kindness that isn't spoken. He reaches beside the chair and nudges a small box toward you. Inside, a stack of blank music CDs. Take one, he says. You pick. I'll play it tomorrow. You thumb through the discs, most of them unmarked. You choose one at random, hand it to him. He looks at it, then at you, and smiles, really smiles for the first time. I hope it's something dramatic, he murmurs. Like red dahlias? He nods once, quietly pleased. Exactly. You leave later than usual that night, but neither of you notices the time. And when you step into the elevator, you realize he never asked when you'd be back. He just assumed you would. And somehow, you know you will. It's subtle at first. So subtle, you nearly miss it. The first morning, he doesn't leave before you arrive. He's in the kitchen, pouring hot water into the teapot you gave him, wearing a navy sweater, and the expression of someone caught halfway between being alone and unexpectedly wanting company. You enter quietly, uncertain. I can come back later. No, he says, not harshly, just immediate. You're fine. You hover at the threshold. Are you not working today? I pushed my morning meetings. You blink. Why? He doesn't answer, just gestures to the teacups. You sit. That's the first morning. The second morning, he's sitting at the piano. You don't recognize the piece, soft, meandering, like it's unsure where it wants to go. You stand in the entryway without speaking. He finishes the song, closes the lid, and looks over at you. I was hoping you'd hear that one, he says. Your heart flutters once, not the wild, messy kind of flutter, but something slower, grounded, a warmth in your ribs that spreads quietly. He clears his throat. I usually don't play when anyone's here. You smile. I'm not anyone. And he doesn't deny it. By the end of the week, a pattern begins to form. He stays later. You arrive earlier. And no one names what's happening, not directly. There are no dramatic conversations, no labels, no rules, just this gentle circling, this widening of the space between you, until it feels natural to stay, to linger. You start bringing fresh bread from the bakery near your apartment. He starts making you coffee, not just brewing it, but actually making it, trying new beans, watching your face for a verdict. One morning he asks if you like cinnamon. You say yes. The next day it's in the cup, just a trace. You never talk about the contract, about the fact that technically your 2 weeks are long gone. Neither of you wants to. On the fourth morning of this new rhythm, he walks you to the elevator. It's a short walk, barely 15 steps, but he's never done it before. You try not to read into it, but your chest is full of something soft and tremulous as he waits beside you, hands in his pockets, eyes on the floor number above the doors. Then, just as the elevator arrives, he says, "Do you ever get tired of being careful?" The question throws you off. You look at him, surprised. "What do you mean?" He shrugs lightly. You always move like you're walking on the edge of something." You blink. "That's not untrue." You say carefully, "Maybe I've had to be careful." He nods, doesn't push. Same. The doors open. You step in. He doesn't follow. But before the doors close, he says your name softly, for only the second time since you met. "Stay longer next time," he says. And then he's gone. You do stay longer. The next morning, and the one after that, you both stop pretending you're on a schedule. He stops leaving. You stop leaving too. The change becomes noticeable to other people, not just to you. The building staff start greeting you by name. The delivery person you pass in the lobby says, "Long shift today?" with a wink. You laugh it off. You don't know how to explain what you are to him, not a housekeeper, not exactly a friend. Something in between, something growing, something unnamed. On the 8th morning of the new rhythm, he forgets to answer his phone. You hear it buzzing on the counter. He's in the living room, curled strangely on the floor, staring at the ceiling with a furrowed brow. You hover in the doorway. Are you okay? He doesn't move. Then he says, do you think people always turn into their parents, or only the parts they don't like? You don't answer. Not yet. You sit beside him instead, letting the silence breathe. He speaks again, voice quieter. She loved too much. Everyone said so. You nod, not because you know, but because you believe he's telling you something sacred. She gave everything to people who didn't know what to do with it. You glance at him. And what about you? His eyes meet yours. I'm still trying to be the person who would have known what to do with it. Your throat tightens. You want to say something meaningful, something that won't spook the quiet thing building between you. So you say, you make a good cup of coffee. And he laughs. Not loudly, not freely. But it's real. The sound of it stays with you long after you leave that night. By now, he's not closing the world out the way he used to. He still doesn't invite people over. But you're not people. You're you. He starts asking you things. What kind of music helps you sleep? What your favorite meal was as a child? If you could live in any city, where it would be. You answer slowly, deliberately. You learn too, in return, that he hates elevators but takes them anyway. That he hasn't been to a movie theater in 6 years. That he's never been in love. Not properly, not fully. Have you? He asks once. You hesitate. Then, I thought I was. He tilts his head. But now, I'm not so sure. He nods. Doesn't press. But after that night, you find a stack of DVDs by the TV the next time you come in. A mix of old Korean classics and newer romance films. None of them opened. You don't say anything. You just choose one. Pop it in. And sit beside him. He doesn't move away. That week it rains again. Not as sudden, not as loud, but enough to soften the sky. Enough to make you stay an hour longer than you should. Enough to make you ask the question you've been holding. Do you ever think you'll leave this apartment? He's quiet. Too quiet. Then he says, I used to think this was the only place I felt safe. And now? He looks at you, not quickly, not dramatically, but with a quiet, grounded honesty. Now it's the only place you are. It's almost an accident. You don't mean to open the cabinet in the guest room. You're not even cleaning, not really. Just organizing linens, refolding sheets that are already crisp, tidying pillows that haven't been touched. It's only when you reach to straighten the edge of the blanket at the foot of the bed that you notice it, the wooden drawer tucked low into the nightstand, half a centimeter ajar. Not obviously. Not like an invitation. More like someone had been in a hurry, or distracted, or simply forgot. You pause, then pull it open. Inside is a photo. Just one. Unframed, without glass or border. Resting inside a pale gray envelope lined with fabric. The paper is slightly bent at one corner, not fresh, not displayed, but kept quietly. The photo is of 2 boys. They're sitting on a wooden bench in what looks like a greenhouse. One boy is smiling a wide, lopsided grin with a chipped tooth and scruffy hair. The other is almost identical, but neater, quieter. Looking off to the side, caught mid-thought, you stare at it for a long time. Then you realize why it catches your breath. Because the neater one, the one not smiling, is him. You put the photo back exactly where you found it. You close the drawer. You don't mention it. Not that day, not the next. But something shifts after that. In you, in how you look at him. The next morning, when you arrive, he's already in the kitchen, making toast, hair damp from a recent shower, dressed in a charcoal sweater and gray slacks, reading glasses perched on the bridge of his nose. You linger in the doorway longer than usual. He glances up. Something flickers in his eyes like he notices something in you. "You okay?" he asks. You nod. "Just thinking." "About?" You hesitate, then shrug. "How you never burn the toast." His mouth twitches, a breath of a smile. "You think I'm the kind of man who would burn toast? I think you're the kind of man who expects not to." He laughs under his breath, sets a plate on the counter. "Eat before it gets cold." You join him, quietly. You watch how he moves measured, graceful in his own way, always leaving a little space between himself and everything else. But not from you. Not anymore. That night, you linger again. He's sitting on the floor, leaning against the couch. The lights are low. A quiet piano piece plays somewhere behind you, the same one from your first week here. You sit down next to him, close enough that your knees almost touch, and you ask gently, "Do you have a brother?" He doesn't look at you, just continues staring at the window, at the city lights smudged by rain. Then softly, "I had a twin." You nod. "I saw the photo." He's quiet, not in a defensive way, just still. You give him time. Finally, he says, "He was louder than me, braver, the kind of person who could walk into a room and light it without trying. And you?" "I was the quiet one, the serious one, the one people thought would do something important." His voice drifts. "He loved plants. I liked machines. He climbed rooftops. I watched from the ground. He made messes. I cleaned them up." You smile faintly. "Sounds familiar." A pause. Then, "He died when we were 19. Your throat tightens. "I'm sorry." He nods once. "He fell on a hiking trip. Everyone said it was an accident. I always wondered if he slipped or jumped or just leaned too far because he was too fearless." You look at him, but he's somewhere else now, back on that trail, that day, that edge. "I came home after the funeral and sat on the floor of our shared room," he continues. "And I remember thinking, he took all the color with him." You don't speak. You just reach over and gently rest your hand beside his. Not touching, not yet, but close enough. His fingers shift. Then softly, hesitantly, they find yours. Not a full grasp, just a quiet contact, a beginning. That night, as you leave, he walks you to the door. You turn to him, still holding your coat in your hands. "Why did you keep the photo in the guest room?" His answer is immediate, honest. "Because I still think he might walk through the door one day." You step closer. "I'm not going anywhere," you say. His eyes flicker. "I know," he says. And for once, he sounds like he believes it. When you get home that night, you find a message waiting on your phone. Not a text, a voice note, just a few seconds. Him saying your name in that soft way he always does. And then, "If you ever want to bring a second mug of tea, I'll stay for it." You listen to it twice, then make a note to bring the bigger teapot tomorrow. You don't expect him to be waiting at the door. Not after last night. Not after the way he gently touched your hand, or the way his voice folded when he said your name like it was something he'd kept folded in his coat pocket for years and was only now daring to unfold. You walk to the apartment with a quiet warmth in your chest. The morning is cold but bright, the rain finally gone. The streets shine with yesterday's water, and the sky is so blue it almost startles you. It feels like a beginning. You're carrying 2 mugs in your bag, real ceramic ones, not takeaway cups. His is navy blue, yours is a soft, dusty pink. You thought that would make him smile. But when you reach the penthouse floor, the hallway feels different. Still, hollow. You pause in front of the door, then key in the code. It works, just as always. But the moment you step inside, you know something's wrong. The silence isn't warm today. It doesn't welcome. It swallows. The windows are still bright, the apartment full of light, but it feels too bright, too bare, like someone left in a hurry and didn't bother to close the curtains behind them. The piano is shut, the kettle is dry, the tea tray is gone from its usual place on the counter. You check the office, empty. The guest room, untouched. You knock, softly, on the closed bedroom door, even though he's never asked you to. No answer. You don't go in. You just stand there for a moment, mug still in hand, letting the silence build around you. You wait. You tell yourself maybe he stepped out. An errand, a meeting. Maybe he's late. But you know him now. You know how tightly he holds his routine. And this isn't late. This is gone. You sit on the couch for a while. You try not to check the time. You do it anyway. 9:47 a.m. You text him, "Hey, everything okay?" No response. You reread the message twice before setting your phone down. Your hand still feels the shape of the mug's handle. You think about putting it in the sink, but don't. Instead, you leave it on the table, quietly, a placeholder, a signal. By noon, you've started cleaning again. You don't mean to, it's just habit. You wipe down the counter, refold the throw blanket, smooth the pillows. You water the plants even though they don't need it. You polish the tea tray and set it back in its usual spot. You pretend it's just a normal day, that he's just late. But when you open the pantry, you find something that makes you freeze. His favorite coffee beans are gone. So is the chamomile tea you brought him. The extra pair of shoes by the door, the ones he rarely wore, missing. The drawer where he kept his chargers is empty. You open the fridge. The milk is gone. The eggs too. It's not just absent-mindedness. It's intentional. A vanishing. You sit on the floor of the living room, legs folded beneath you. Not crying. Not yet. But your throat aches with a kind of disbelief. You just started to feel steady again. And now the rug has slipped out from under you, and you're sitting on marble that feels colder than usual. You lean back against the couch and close your eyes. Breathe in, then out. Again. And that's when you feel something under your fingers. Tucked between the cushions. You reach down and pull out a piece of paper, a small, square card, folded once. Your name is written on the outside. In his handwriting. You stare at it for a long time before opening it. Inside, just 3 lines. "I'm sorry. I thought I could stay, but it hurts more than I expected." No signature. None needed. You fold the note back up and hold it in your hands, as if it still has some of his warmth in it. It doesn't. You leave the apartment 2 hours later, but not before making the bed, not before turning off the kettle, not before placing the 2 mugs, yours and his side by side, on the kitchen counter. You don't take them with you. You leave them as they are, together, waiting, just in case. That night, you walk slower than you ever have. The city moves past you, full of people who don't know you just lost something that wasn't even yours yet. You pass the bakery, the florist, the narrow cafe where the 2 of you never sat, and for the first time you let yourself wonder, did he run, or did he leave before you had the chance to? You sleep restlessly. The pillow smells like the rain from 2 nights ago. You dream of the greenhouse from the photo, of red dahlias blooming until they fall, of someone sitting beside you who isn't there when you wake up. When morning comes, you don't go to the penthouse. You walk to the river instead. You sit by the edge and try not to check your phone. You check it anyway. Still nothing. But a part of you, the part that stayed in that apartment, even after you left, keeps whispering, Maybe tomorrow. It's been 4 days. You haven't returned to the penthouse. Not because the agency told you to stop, they haven't called, and you doubt they even know he's left. Not because you're angry, just hollow, too empty to return to a place that used to mean something and now means absence. You try to fill your time. You take long walks through neighborhoods you don't know. You browse bookstores and pick up novels you don't open. You go to your favorite cafe and sit by the window, but the chair across from you is just a chair now. There's no note, no coffee, no glance from across the street. You still check your phone, even though you told yourself you wouldn't, even though he's said nothing since the card. You imagine him at a train station, a hotel lobby, a rooftop garden in another city, anywhere but near you, anywhere but here. You imagine he's forgotten the feel of your hand, the sound of your breath when you fell asleep on his couch, the way you watched the rain and didn't speak because it was enough that he was beside you. You tell yourself, he left quietly, so I should let him stay gone. But your heart disagrees, and the ache is louder than silence. On the 5th day, you get a call. Unknown number. You almost don't answer, but something in your chest stirs a tug that feels like memory or hope or both. Hello? There's a pause, a long one. Then, it's me. His voice, rougher than usual, tired, but unmistakable. You don't say anything. You're not sure what to say. I didn't mean to disappear, he says. Another pause. I thought if I left first it would hurt less. You close your eyes. I waited, you say. Not forever, just long enough. I know. Why did you come back? He's quiet. Then, because everywhere else felt colder than the day I left you. He doesn't ask to see you. He doesn't say meet me here. But that evening, you walk to the building. Slowly, uncertainly. You're not sure what you expect. You just know your feet won't let you go anywhere else. The elevator still knows your code. The hallway is still silent. And when the door opens, he's standing there, not in a suit, not in a sweater, just a white shirt and bare feet and eyes that look like they haven't rested. And in his hand, a single flower. Small, pale, not showy. You don't recognize it. He holds it out. For you, he says softly. You take it. Do you know what it means, you ask? He nods. Homecoming. You step inside. It smells the same, but something's different. The tea tray is back on the counter. Your mug is there, waiting. The piano is open. The blanket is unfolded, draped over the couch like someone needed comfort and didn't care how it looked. And on the windowsill, a vase with 2 dahlias, red, deep as dusk. You glance back at him. I thought you never brought them inside. I didn't, he says. You changed. He nods. You were the reason. You sit together in silence. The flower still in your lap. He doesn't reach for your hand. You don't ask him to. But something in the air between you settles like breath let out after too long holding it in. He says, I don't know how to do this right. You say, then we can do it wrong. Together. His lips press into something like a smile. Then quieter. Do you believe in second chances? You look at him. At the man who made you tea before he could say he missed you. Who left so he wouldn't break and came back so you wouldn't be alone. I do now. Later you brew the tea. He washes the fruit. You don't ask where he went. Not yet. He doesn't offer answers. He doesn't need to. He stayed away just long enough to realize what it meant to come back. He sets the dishes down beside you. You were right, he says. About what? He looks at the mugs. Then at you. Things feel warmer when you're here. You smile. Then stay. He nods. I will. You don't leave that night. You sit beside him until the lights go low, until the city goes quiet, until the music fades into soft static. And then so slowly, so gently he reaches over, not for your hand this time, but to tuck a strand of hair behind your ear. His fingers linger, and when you close your eyes, you swear the flower in your lap exhales, because something lost has returned, and this time it's staying. The next morning, the sunlight is warm through the windows. You don't leave the apartment. You make toast. He grumbles that you've burnt it, and you grin, because you finally have. He pours the tea, sweetens it less than usual, and for once, he doesn't fix the lopsided place setting you've left crooked on purpose. Something has shifted. Not broken, just loosened. Like the carefulness between you has softened, given way to something slower, steadier, real. You're sitting across from him on the couch, knees pulled up under you, blanket across your lap, hair still sleep messy. He's holding his mug with both hands, elbows on his knees, the sleeves of his soft black sweater pushed up to the forearm. You never asked where I went, he says. You glance at him. I figured you'd tell me when you were ready. His gaze lingers on you a moment longer, then drops to the rim of his mug. I went to my family's house, he says. Outside the city. I haven't been in years. You wait, letting him speak in his own time. My mother used to close the shop at 4. You blink. What shop? He smiles faintly. The flower shop. It was hers, tucked into the back of our neighborhood, small. Only ever had one other employee, my brother. You feel your breath catch lightly. He's never spoken of him so directly before. She always closed at 4, said the best things happened when you made room for them. Dinner with the boys, walks before sunset, tea with people who never hurried. He pauses, then adds, I never understood it. I always told her she could stay open later, make more money, be more visible, but she didn't care. You don't interrupt. You just watch his hands, how tightly he holds the mug now. When she died, the shop closed too, permanently. The sign stayed up for a while, but the flowers withered, the shelves emptied. He's quiet for a long stretch. Then, quietly, after my brother was gone, I started leaving the office at 4. I didn't tell anyone why, I just couldn't stand the thought of being the last one to turn the lights off again. You feel something thick rise in your throat. I started closing myself off the same way she closed the world out. I thought it was safety, but it was just surviving. You lean toward him, careful, slow. He doesn't flinch, doesn't pull away. You say, and now? His voice barely rises above a whisper. Now I want to leave things open. The apartment feels warmer after that, not because of the sunlight, but because of him, his honesty, the way it coats the room like the scent of something long forgotten, something blooming again. Later that afternoon, he finds you on the balcony. You're watering the tiny, nearly forgotten plants in the corner. He joins you silently, hands in his pockets. He watches you for a while. Then, softly, would you ever want to open something together? You glance at him. Like what? He shrugs. A studio, a bakery, a place people come to feel like they belong. You study him. He's not joking, not filling space. He means it. You think of your old dream, the studio, the choreography, the half-finished ideas tucked away in notebooks and corners of your mind. You smile. I'd like that. I'd let you be in charge of the music, he says. And the toast? He smirks. You'd need training. You laugh, and the sound carries past the railing, down into the city below. You let it. That night, you cook together, or try to. He burns the rice. You drop a spoonful of sauce on his shirt. He doesn't swear, just looks down, frowns, and says, "This is your fault." You press a napkin into his hand and say, "Then it's a shared tragedy." He doesn't smile right away. But later, When he catches you humming in the kitchen something soft, something old, you see it. A real smile. Not careful, not small. A full one. And it stays. After dinner, you sit on the floor together. The lights are dim. The record player hums softly from the corner. He leans back on one arm, eyes closed, listening. You trace patterns across the edge of the rug with your finger and ask, "What do you think your mother would say?" He opens his eyes. "She'd say it's about time." You nod. Then, gently, "She'd like that you stopped running." He turns to you. "I didn't stop because I was brave. I know. I stopped because you were here." You don't answer. You just reach over and take his hand. This time, there's no hesitation. He doesn't ask you to stay. Not in so many words. Not in a dramatic, earth-shaking confession. There's no ring, no "please don't go," no desperate chase to the airport. Instead, he changes the drawer labels in the kitchen. One morning, you find a new one, "TR's." Not his, not hers, just ours. And beside it, a little folded towel with your initials stitched in the corner. You didn't make it. You didn't ask for it. He must have had someone do it, quietly. You press the fabric to your chest, just for a second. Because in this house, in his house, nothing has ever been loud. But everything has meant something. You start sleeping there sometimes. Not always. Not because he asked, but because the mornings feel empty when you're not brushing your teeth across from him, both of you half asleep, bumping elbows by the sink. He makes breakfast exactly the same way every day. Toast, fruit, boiled eggs. But now he cuts the toast diagonally. You don't know why. He just shrugs when you ask. You think it's because you once did. You don't press it. You just keep showing up. One night, you're folding laundry his this time, when he sets a small box on the coffee table. No ribbon. No flourish. Just a smooth black case. He doesn't say anything. You pause, look at him, then back to the box. You open it. Inside, a key, shaped like a house key, but newer, shinier. You pick it up, roll it between your fingers. He watches you quietly and says, "I didn't want to make a moment out of it." You look at him, soft, unblinking. "You didn't need to," you say. And then finally you press your lips to his. Not with urgency, not because it's overdue, but because there's nothing left to say. And because he's been kissing you in every quiet gesture for weeks now, in tea, in toast, in towels, in keys. Now it's just your turn. You don't move everything in. Not at once. Just little things. A book here, a sweater there. Your name slowly appears on shipping labels. You start answering the door. People stop asking who you are. They start asking for both of you. One evening, the city smells like spring again. The windows are open, the curtains ripple, the sky is watercolor blue. He's lying on the couch, arms slung over his eyes, half napping. You're curled at the other end, rereading an old novel you never finished. He lifts his arm and says, "Come here." You slide across the cushions and settle beside him. He wraps an arm around you, not possessive, just home. You rest your head against his chest. His heartbeat is slow, steady. "I used to think I'd end up alone," he murmurs. You smile into his shirt. "You still can, just not today," he chuckles. "Or tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm still here. And the day after?" You lean up, kiss the corner of his mouth, whisper, "Try and get rid of me." He doesn't answer, just closes his eyes again and says, "Good." That night, he falls asleep before you do. You listen to his breathing. You think about how you used to rush home after work, peel off your shoes, and sit in the dark with a book you couldn't focus on. How you used to think people like him only existed in stories. How sometimes people disappear not because they're cruel, but because they're scared. And how maybe all anyone needs is someone who waits a little longer, someone who doesn't flinch, someone who just stays. You trace the curve of his hand with your thumb, then fall asleep and dream of flowers that bloom in pairs. 1 year later, there's a small shop tucked into the corner of your street. It's hard to find unless you know it's there. It has no big sign, no website, no ads. Just a small window with 2 mugs in it. One navy, one dusty pink. And on the door, painted in tiny gold letters, closed at 4, unless you're home. Inside, there's a bookshelf, a piano, a tea kettle that never stops warming, and a man who still thinks toast should be symmetrical. You work side by side most days. You dance in the quiet hours when no one's watching. And in the evenings, after the lights dim and the shutters are drawn, you lie on the couch with your head in his lap and let the city breathe outside your window. No loud music, no grand ending, just the stillness of someone staying, and staying, and staying, for good.